Today we're going to be talking about moving up and down the number line by tens, and we've done this before with whole numbers. So for example, if we started with a 6 in the ones place, and then we were to multiply it by 10, okay? So if you multiply it by 10, you're moving one place to the left. When you move one place to the left, you multiply by 10, it gets 10 times bigger. So if I were going to move that 6 one place to the left, it would go from the ones place to the tens place. And I would have to put a placeholder in there. And I need a placeholder because there's a decimal here, and I have to have a placeholder in this space between this number and the decimal. Okay? So 6 multiplied by 10 becomes 60, which should make sense to you. And then if we were going to take this, the 60, and we're going to divide it by 10, we would have to go backwards one space. So what would have to happen is the 6 would have to move to here. We wouldn't need the placeholder anymore. And we would have 60 divided by 10 is 6. So we have 6 ones. Now this pattern will continue. I can divide by 10 again. If I divide by 10 again, all I do is I move my number one place to the right. So every time you divide by 10, you move one place to the right, just like it says up here, okay? So if I move one place to the right, if I divide by 10, my 6 now ends up in the tens place, and it is 6 tenths, which should make sense because if I take a 1 and divide it into 10 pieces, I get tenths. So if I have 6 wholes and I divide them into 10 pieces, I'm going to get 6 tenths. All right, now if I were to, I could go back again. If I have a 6 in the tens place and I were going to multiply it by 10, it would go up one place and it would become 6 ones. So this pattern continues. So we can take any number. So let's try 8 hundredths. We're going to need a placeholder there to keep the 8 in the hundredths place. So let's say we have 8 hundredths right here, okay? Decimal 0.8, 8 hundredths because it's in the hundredths place, okay? Now let's say we want to take 8 hundredths and multiply it by 10. If we multiply it by 10 according to this chart, we move one place to the left every time we multiply. So we're going to move all our numbers one place to the left, okay? Because remember, you move all your numbers, just like we did with whole numbers. When we do that, we get 0.8, okay, which is 8 tenths. Okay, so when you multiply the hundredths place by 10, it moves to the tenths place. And again, if we were to divide it by 10, we would just move one place this way, and it would go back to where it started, which is here. Okay, if we were to divide by 10 again, all right, we move one place to the right every time we divide by 10. So that means the 8 would move one place over, move one place over. We are going to need another placeholder here because you always have to have a placeholder between your number and the decimal. The decimal is here, the number is here. We need placeholders to keep it in the thousands place. Okay, so if we take 8 hundredths and we divided it by 10 and we got 8 thousandths, which makes sense because if you take a hundredths grid and you divide it by 10, you get those tiny little lines that come up in the thousandths grid. All right, let's try something else. Let's say we have something like 43 thousandths, okay? 43 thousandths, we need a placeholder. So we're going to pop our 0 in right there. And we say this 43 thousandths because it ends in the thousands place, okay? So let's say we wanted to take 43 thousandths and multiply it by 10. If you multiply it by 10, it has to move up one place to the left. Well, all of your numbers are going to have to move left one place when you multiply by 10. So we're going to move each one up one place when we multiply by 10. And now we have 0 and 43 hundredths. So instead of having 43 thousandths, we have 43 hundredths because we've multiplied by 10 and everything has moved to the left. Okay? All right, let's try something again. Let's give it a different number. Let's say we have something like 5 and 6 tenths, okay? So remember, we have 5 ones, so we said 5, the decimal is and, 6, and we say 6 tenths because it ends in the tens place. So we have 5 and 6 tenths. Let's say we want to divide 5 and 6 tenths by 10. Okay, so that means we're going to move everything one place to the right. So we're going to take both numbers and move them one place to the right. So 5 and 6 tenths divided by 10 is 56 hundredths because it ends in the hundredths place. Now there's something really important here that we need to remember. You need to remember that dividing by 10 is the same thing as finding 1/10 of a number. So there's two ways to say this. So let's move our number back. I could say that 56 divided by 10, we move it all one place over, is 56 hundredths. The other way to say it is if I want to find 1/10 of 56, I divide it by 10, which means I move it over one place to the right. Okay, so we need to remember that dividing by 10 is the same as finding 1/10 of a number. Okay, so anytime we divide by 10, we are finding 1/10 of a number. Okay, so that's an awful looking 1/10. So if I had something like 9 tenths, and I wanted to find what 1/10 of 9 tenths was, 1/10 of 9 tenths is the same thing as dividing by 10. So to find the tenth of a number, I divide it by 10. I move it over one place. Okay? So same thing as dividing by 10. So to find 1/10 of a number, that's what we've been doing. To find 1/10, you divide a number by 10, which means you're moving it. That's a very awful looking divide by 10, which means you're moving it one place to the right every time you find 1/10 of a number. So every time you divide by 10, you move one place to the right on your place value chart. And every time you multiply by 10, you move one place to the left. And if you have more than one digit, you have to move all your digits. So if I had the number 7 and 56 hundredths, and I wanted to find 1/10 of that number, I would have to divide the number by 10, which means every digit would have to move one place to the right. So they're all going to move to the right, and I get 756 thousandths. Okay, one more if I wanted to multiply. So let's say I had the number 8 and so 809 thousandths. Now let's say I want to find what 10 times more is. So I'm going to multiply by 10. I have to take the whole number and move it one place left. The whole number in the same order. This goes one place, this goes one place, and this goes one place. So I end up with 8 and 9 hundredths.